I'm Werner de Jong, originally from the Netherlands, but I work in London as the business product manager for Mobile Wave, and I've been doing this now for about a year. So during that time, we have been working on a change from Wave as you know it, 3.7, and before that 3.6, to an hybrid environment, so allowing us to build hybrid mobile applications. So I've got an agenda, which looks like it's a lot, but basically I've listed all the topics that I'm going to go through today. So I'll start with an overview with the new wave, and I'll introduce something that is not yet available, but it is in the making at the moment. It's called OpenText Application Gateway, which you may find interesting. And I will talk about how that works with Wave going forward. So also a topic that I'd like to talk about is a little bit about the migration of the existing apps that you might have to the Wave 4 environment. It is a mobile application development platform that facilitates the creation of hybrid cross-platform mobile apps. And these hybrid apps are basically created using standard web technologies, and Wave itself will provide the tools to build, compile, and distribute the mobile applications. Now I have to talk about hybrid first. With Wave 3.7.2 that you have now on premise, you're building native applications for each device. Now that was great, absolutely great, up to about a year ago. And there's a huge change now in the market where people are building hybrid applications. So a hybrid application is an application that's running inside a native shell, but what is running in that native shell is created using HTML5, JavaScript, and CSS. So that's hybrid. So it's a web application that's running inside a native shell. It's done to allow web applications closer access to the actual device. So the native shell is still device dependent, but the web content, the web app, is not. That's the same as what you did with Mobile Wave 3.7.2. You write it once and it runs on many. So you have a native app, you have hybrid, and you have web apps, and you have mobile websites. So those are the four ways of doing it. So native and hybrid allows you to work offline, while a web app or a mobile website requires you to be online. So let's have a look at the Wave 4.0 feature. So I'm talking about Wave 4.0 right now. So what I first said is really what we're going to do with Wave 4, what we are doing with Wave 4 is to allow our developers to build cross-platform mobile applications, and all they need to know is web technologies. And these web technologies is your standard HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And we know that that should just run on any platform. Any browser should be able to do that. But we're building mobile apps still, so not a mobile website. The way we do that, and I spoke about that native shell, is that we are using something that you might have heard of. It's called Apache Cordova, which allows us to access native device features through a JavaScript API. And that JavaScript API we can obviously use inside a web application. So that's how we can access to native device features, such as a camera or the contact database on your phone and things like that. You might know it under a different name. Adobe PhoneGap is a distribution, a commercial distribution of Apache Cordova. So what Wave 4 will do, we will also be essentially a distribution of Apache Cordova. That means that rather than using Wave Studio to design your apps, you would select a user interface framework, which is HTML, JavaScript based, and that could be jQuery Mobile, Twitter Bootstrap, Dojo Mobile, or Sencha. There's a number of them, and which one you want to select is really up to you, as long as they are compatible with Apache Cordova, you could use them, and you can use that user interface to design exactly that interface that you want to have according to your branding that you want to use on your applications. What that means at the end is that you will have an application that's built with the Wave 4.0 portal, and it's completely App Store ready, just like Wave 3.7.2. But you do not need any of the native SDKs. So rather than even using the Wave 3.7.2 environment where you use a Wave Explorer app on the device, you don't need those anymore. Wave 4 also has an application directory. Now, what that allows you to do is to distribute an application that you've built with Wave without actually having to go through that App Store. So you could distribute it internally to all your staff, for example, without having to force them to go to an App Store. Yeah, so that's an alternative option. Any of the application packages that have been created with Wave 4, they're ready for uploading to the Apple App Store, Google Play, and what have you. Now, another cool thing about Apache Cordova, the fact that we're using it, is that you can actually extend the whole API structure through something that's called plugins. And we will be providing a set of Wave plugins that will demonstrate that extensibility of the platform. That brings me to the OpenText Application Gateway. This is a new product that's actually not built by the team in London, but it's built by the team in Waterloo. And it's called OTAG for short. And what is it? It's a utility that has multiple features. So it allows you to do things like mobile device or mobile application management, deployment of apps and components and services. It's something that is designed to be reusable for others to leverage. So it's something that DDR could reuse to create a particular interface into other OpenText products. So it's all reusable code, reusable components that have a server side and a client side bit. And it provides you basically with one set of credentials that provides access to all the compatible OpenText backends. So if you think about content server, we would essentially build an OTAG module that interfaces with content server, and on the other side it would release a Wave plugin, and with that Wave plugin you could create a web application using JavaScript APIs to talk to content server through OTAG. That's basically what the idea is. And OTAG can be deployed on premise. It can be just handed to you as a virtual machine, so a black box, or it can be used in the OpenText cloud. All the mobile clients that use OTAG services are built with Wave 4.0. So these OTAG services that I spoke to you about, like document management in content server, they will be available through those Wave plugins that you can then call using a JavaScript API. So that's where we're going with OpenText Application Gateway. So a little diagram here, what it actually looks like. It's not just mobile. We also have web, desktop, and server access. And basically it's a REST API using JSON technologies to talk to a Tomcat backend that then interfaces to either content server or Tempo Social or any other OpenText product, but also anything that is non-OpenText. You could actually create something that slots into that OTAG framework. So it's completely flexible. That's the plan behind it, but it will primarily be an interface into everything OpenText. That's what we will be delivering, but customers like you could extend it if you like. So let's talk a little bit more about Wave 4. What is actually Wave 4? So let's look at the components, and I've listed them right here. So we've got 5 components that make up Wave 4. First of all, there's a portal. Then we have the application directory for publication of apps. We have a bonding farm that allows us to build all the clients for all the targeted platforms. So iOS, BlackBerry, Android, Windows Phone 8. We have a management console to manage user accounts, monitor the services and all that stuff. And then the Wave plugins, which is the extendability of the platform. So first of all, Wave Portal. So with Wave Portal, you can compile your own mobile apps online. Now with Wave 3.7.2, if you had your app almost ready for the App Store, you would have had to call on OpenText services to build that final mobile app executable, the binary file. No longer with Wave 4, you can do it all yourself, so you don't require any of our services to do that. It's a secure and trusted environment. And why do I say that? Well, Wave Portal, you could use it inside the OpenText cloud, or you get it on-premise like you have now. So we already have a cloud service up and running at this moment. So what does it give you as main features? Well, you can manage your projects and build the clients all through the Wave portal. You can create new projects, upload application package, and that application package consists of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript source code, and any of the assets like application icons, screenshots, and the like that you upload to the server. You will be able to review all the project metadata that's part of that application package and select the target platforms. That's all you do. You can attach the certificates, like if you want to have a signed application, obviously. You can do that all through the user interface. And you can then monitor the build status and check the results, publish the application to the Wave application directory, and then download the binaries as well for upload to commercial app stores, all through the portal web interface. So it's been designed to be very, very easy to use, and it's available in the cloud or on-premise. So the Wave application directory is an integral part of the portal. So any apps that are built with Wave Portal, you can download them and publish them to the app stores, all the ones that we support. And alternatively, you can just leave them in the app directory, in the Wave app directory. So that allows you to securely distribute the mobile apps within a known environment, so within your users, among your users, for example, rather than going out to the public. Then the next part of Wave 4 is the bonding farm. As you know, bonding is the process of actually creating the application binary with embedded assets. The Wave bonding farm, if you have it on site, what it consists of is a bonding controller that manages the bonding request, the creation requests, and distributes it to the Wave bonding agents that we support. And that could be Java for Android and BlackBerry, Windows Phone 8, Windows 8 RT, which is the version for the tablets, and iOS. In the cloud, in the OpenText cloud, we will have simply all the bonding agents that we have created running. So you don't have to worry about any of the hardware or other requirements then. Then the Wave Management Console, that's the system administration and monitoring of the platform. So it allows you to manage the portal users, to manage and monitor the actual bonding farm, and you can get some reporting and statistics on the applications that were built and the deployments of the apps. And you can monitor the bonding tasks themselves, see how they're running. Now this is going to be further enhanced in 4.1, so this is very basic right now. A bit more information about those plugins, because we feel that that's really where our unique selling points are going to be going forward. These plugins extend the standard feature set that's provided by Cordova, and it can get you all kinds of incremental access to other native elements on the platform. So Cordova has a lot of things that you can do already. For example, the camera, as already mentioned, context database, your calendaring, the accelerometer, all those kind of things that you cannot get through standard web apps, but you can do that through the Cordova API. Now, if you want to do something more, for example, you want to do OCR. Now, you could build that as a native plugin with a JavaScript API that you can then reuse in no matter how many different apps you want to create. So those are typical examples of plugins. A plugin could also be an authentication module. And in fact, OTag will provide a module that allows you to authenticate against the OpenText directory service, so OTDS. The Wave plugin typically consists of two parts. So there's the platform independent JavaScript interface. So those are the APIs that you can call from your web application. And then there's the platform specific native implementation for that JavaScript API to call into. We're using the standard Cordova approach. It's a JavaScript to native communication bridge. That's how we implement those plugins. So if you want to have a specific feature that is not available through the web app or through the Cordova API, you only need to build a plugin, native implementations for those devices that you want to support. So if that's just Android and iOS, you only have to do two. If there's no native implementation necessary, that's also possible, because you could have a plugin without a native element. So you don't always need native elements. It just depends on what is possible on the website and what not. So we will be providing a set of plugins already, which we call enterprise grade. So they're either security based, they're authentication based, and those kind of things we will provide already. So you don't have to develop the standard stuff, only the things that are really specific to your situation, if there are any. There might not be any. Wave plugins, because they're native, they might offer a better user experience and definitely superior performance, because they would be created using Apple Xcode or the Android SDK. So that's another benefit of using plugins in certain scenarios, even though there is a web way of doing things. With OTag, these Wave plugins will utilize any of the services that OTag provides to access the OpenText backend systems. And that could be content server, that's the main one that we're working on right now, but also business process management and our social applications. Also Tempo Box, which is our file sharing app that we have, if you're familiar with that. And of course, as I already said, you can write your own plugins. So if you have a specific need that we haven't provided, then you could develop them yourself and reuse them. Now let's look at the story that we have with Wave and OTag. So what does it actually mean for someone like you? The fact that we have Wave 4.0, which takes you away from Wave 3.7.2, the way you've done things up to now, and OTag. Now you could actually say that Wave 4.0 and OTag is a replacement of Wave 3.7.2. OTag delivers all the backend integration that you used to have to code a lot more yourself, but we had the server element of Wave 3.7.2. So Wave 4 doesn't have that server element, so you can run it without a server. But OTag provides that server-side integration. So there's a lot of services that we're going to provide through OTag. So I already mentioned document management, content server, but it could be just a simple module to access your favorites, or the content server pulse or tasks. And then from Tempo Social, activities and communities for the social aspect, and Tempo Box for file sharing. There's a new app underway called Tempo Note, which will use similar services. And then if you have SAP, you could use our vendor invoice management module through OTag. And there's many more to come that we are talking about. So business process management is also a hot one that will be coming too. Now we actually will instruct our product teams to deliver a module for that OTag, so to cover our entire product set. About all these cool OTag services, so Wave can consume those services through the Wave plugins and access them through the JavaScript API inside your web app. That's really what it comes down to. So if you look at the process flow of developing the app, how it actually works. So you have a mobile application developer, and this mobile application developer will upload the app sources and certificates. Now these app sources and certificates, they are grouped in a zip file, and the zip file is part of a standard set by the W3C. It's called the widget packaging standard. So it's again a standard that you can find a lot about on the net to create those kind of packages that you can upload to the Wave portal. So it's all based around standards, Wave 4. The mobile application developer uploads that package to the portal. The portal then sends that as a bonding request to the bonding controller, and the bonding controller will distribute that to the relevant bonding agent. So if you only want a Android and iOS app, it will only send it to those kind of bonding agents. If you also want Windows 8 and BlackBerry, it will just distribute it to all, and it's built at the same time. If you want those apps built by the 4 different platforms, they will just go at the same time and be run in parallel. So the bonding agents at build time, they will pull in the Apache Cordova APIs and the Wave plugins to build an application binary. Now these Wave plugins could use OpenText services. Yeah, so the OpenText services connect into our enterprise information management environment. So all these nice modules that we have as OpenText, we can access them through a generic method, and that generic method is the OTAG services. So once we have built the app, it's sent back to the Wave portal for the mobile application developer to download it. And once he's got that, he can publish them to the app stores if he's satisfied. And then OTAG also has a runtime element. If an app is started that requires OTAG services, it will connect to the OTAG server and then connect to the ACM, BPM, CEM modules that we have access to for that particular app. So there's a runtime element as well as a build time element in OTAG. The Wave benefits of using this new technology. So you might think, why are you going away from the Wave 3.7.2 that is running quite well into Wave 4? So first of all, we need to support all the new devices that are coming out. And with the speed with which that is happening, it's quite hard to stay on top. So we wanted a more flexible approach. We wanted to support the new Windows Phone 8 and the BlackBerry 10. In order to do that, we had to look at something different. And by us using Apache Cordova, we can actually achieve that. In fact, we already have on our current beta platform, we have succeeded in building Windows Phone 8 as well as BlackBerry 10 apps. Also, we had a lot of complaints about people who had to learn new skills to use Wave 3.7.2. Something that they've never seen before. They had to use Wave Studio to design the app. And even though it's very, very powerful, it's probably not as slick as some of the IDEs, the integrated development environments, that you can use to build a web UI. That's why using standard web technologies to develop mobile apps is so much more compelling these days. The single code base we had in 3.7.2 already. And we've just made it easier by allowing those web standards to be used. A lot of developers are familiar with that, and they can ensure that it is cross-device the same thing. And using Cordova takes the device specifics out of the way, because if you want to use a camera on an Android or on an iOS device, it's the same JavaScript call. The look and feel, you can use any UI framework that's compatible with Cordova, and there is a lot out there. You could have a preference, like some of the people within OpenText, they prefer Sencha Touch, but if you want to develop something really, really quickly, you could use jQuery Mobile. It's just whatever your requirement is, you could use it. Another great advantage of using something like Apache Cordova is the huge development community. Literally millions of developers are using Apache Cordova. So if there is an issue, it will be very easy to find a solution for your particular problem. Also, if there's a bug in Apache Cordova, it will be fixed pretty quick. And the way we have implemented Wave 4, we can actually accept a new release of Apache Cordova very, very quickly and just add support rather than replace it for a new version of Cordova. I mentioned about extensible with the native UI and device features through plugins, compiled in the cloud or on-premise, secure app distribution through the Wave app directory, and packages that you can download and distribute through the commercial app stores if you so require. One of the things that's really important is the necessity to support the latest devices. The fact is that it is really quite complicated to ensure that you always support the latest devices, the latest iOS versions. Also, if you start to develop your own iOS application, you might have to deal with that as well. So when iOS 7 comes out, you will encounter issues. And we saw that in Wave 3.7.2 as a real issue. So if people now say, I want to support the latest iPad 4 or 5 when it comes out, with Wave 3.7.2 we'd have a real issue. And Wave 4 makes that a lot easier to support those new devices. So we've seen that as a real advantage there. So we are going to provide assistance in migrating away from Wave 3.7.2 into the Wave 4 environment. So we can do that through professional services, or we have a guide under development to convert, for example, the Wave 3.7.2 bonding scripts to the W3C packaged web app framework that's used by Wave 4. And then we can look at all the migration steps if you do want to migrate from Wave 3.7.2 to 4, where we have basically you can reuse all your digital assets. You just would have to develop new resolutions to support the latest devices. You can reuse much of the original content integration already that you have in place. But push notifications and the like, they will need to be re-implemented using a suitable plugin. Now we are developing notification plugins. There are already a number out there in the open source community that do similar things. Then the biggest change is the user experience, which needs to be redesigned and re-implemented using a compatible UI framework. Now, if that all makes it a little bit hard, so the thing is you can just run your existing Wave 3.7.2 service next to 4.0. So any of the apps that you currently have, you can keep them on Wave 3.7.2, and for future developments, you could use the Wave 4 environment. And the thing is, we will not ask for any new licenses to be bought for that. So you could just have them next to each other, and we will replace at due time your Wave 3.7.2 environment with Wave 4. So then finally, I'd like to end with the timescales. Wave 4 will be released by the end of this month. OTEC 1.0 and Wave 4.1 will follow with general availability releases in the fourth quarter of this calendar year. If there's anything else you'd like to find out about Wave 4.0, please feel free to contact me on my mobile or send me an email. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.